So they enter into a 6-month program whereby they get the skills in whatever you're looking at, whether it's automotive engineering, whether it's construction, whether it's masonry, whether it's photography, whether it's, beauty and design, whether it's culinary, whatever it is, they go into a 6-month training and they come out on the other side with the much needed tools that they need to get into the market, as well as a little bit of a capital recharge to make sure that they can do this. It's helped 150,000 people and it's wanting to help more. Between the ages of 18 and 35, you can make sure that you get into the skills program and come out on the other side on top. Find out more information, KCB Group /foundation, and see what you can do. And then, CT, when you go through that world, how do you make sure that you can actually, get a mortgage if you need one?
Knowledge, they say, is king. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is actually everything. Ignorance is also something. Now, if you wish to get a mortgage, you actually need a financial partner. And the financial partner I want to talk to you about today is called Diamond Trust Bank. Diamond Trust Bank have partnered with Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company to offer the following. 1, 10-year mortgages, 25-year mortgages at 9%, and at 9.75% respectively. They are also offering these mortgages to people who are in paid employment, people who are self-employed, and people who are in the diaspora. And they're saying that for those who are employed, you can get a loan of up to 105%. In the diaspora, you can get a loan of up to 80%. Now, they're saying this, and they're saying, pay attention. We do not have hidden charges. Neither will we penalize you if you pay ahead of the schedule. But to confirm this and to get even more information and to find a way in which you can actually get the mortgage that suits your needs, either visit any Diamond Trust Bank branch or simply email, pay attention again, mortgages@dtbafrica.com. That's it.
Great stuff. All right. So looking at more numbers that might actually, shock us this morning. But John Mututho is the managing director at Jomek Rehab Center and a former chair at NACADA, which is the national agency. I keep saying
for drugs.
The National Agency for the C always throws me off.
We'll see.
The C
is a campaign.
The campaign
is
right.
a campaign.
The campaign
against
drug abuse. The C always throws me off.
Yeah.
All the same, you're synonymous with that, and we say welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here again.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
And so we're going to look into, it's a problem that we're looking into this morning and probably hoping to look into solutions for that. But thank you for coming. And as we do that, CT is going to welcome you with today's proverb. And then you can tell us how you would interpret that as we get along.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Niger. The lion will not give birth to a goat.
My understanding.
Yes, please.
That one is a prey to begin with. So every time they meet, one will be make a dinner or
some nyamachoma.
Nyamachoma for the lion. So there is no way they can make love.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is no way.
Yes.
Yeah, and the more of it is, to me, my understanding.
Yeah,
is that the oppressed can never seek refuge with the oppressors.
Oh, wow.
You put it beautifully.
Yeah. That's a beautiful way to look at it, actually.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about opinions. You know that they can you can give you a different outlook to.
Could I start on a simple light note with John here? The last in 2024, I believe you said that there was no vodka in Kenya, and any Kenya company that claims to make vodka should come to you to actually test that, because there's some seeds that are imported. Have you done a follow-up on that? Did they actually come to you? Have you tested, or are Kenya still drinking fake vodka? It's good to understand and stuff from there.
Interesting question, and I'm really glad you started with that one. I'll first of all define vodka for the sake of our viewers and listeners. Vodka is made from a carbohydrate, fermenting a carbohydrate, which could be a cereal, potatoes, or bananas. When you do the normal brewing process, fermentation process, then you brew, you end up having a gin that is called dry gin. That dry gin, you introduce something called honest seeds, which comes from Europe. You go through a process, and then you have vodka. If you look at the carbohydrates I've just mentioned, and look at back to your chemistry, this is from 6-carbon carbohydrate. In carbohydrates originating from fruits and allies, like sugarcane, things like that, that's a 5-carbon carbohydrate. So if you are going to do traceability of the origin of the carbohydrate that produced ethanol, that eventually now becomes vodka, you realize Kenya is a fraud.
Okay.
Number two, I don't know why they are embarrassed to tell us that what they sell is ethanol derived, not methanol, ethanol derived from sugarcane. Okay. And from that you can only have rum, like Captain Morgan rum, or thereabout. This big kizunguming is unnecessary, is cheating.
Okay.
And after I say that, it took me 5 minutes, and how they responded, that they never showed me where they do produce vodka, but they pulled down all the billboards, adverts, which is not a good way of doing business.
Yeah, but you were justified in one way or another, were you not?
I feel bad because normally from those medieval ages, alcohol should not be killing anyone.
Well, I mean, I think that's a segue into, some of what we'll be talking about this morning.
Yeah.
And if we just look at some of the numbers, if we look at what NACADA has put out, which is, the organization that is tasked with dealing with a lot of these things, let's look at some of those numbers. That 1 in every 6 Kenyans aged between the age of 15 and 65 are currently using at least one drug or substance of abuse. That 1 in every 3 males between the age of 15 and 65, and 1 in every 16 females is currently using at least one drug or substance of abuse. We've also seen that the Western region had the highest prevalence of current use of at least one drug or substance of abuse. Now let's look at alcohol specifically. 1 in every 8 Kenyans were currently using alcohol. 1 in every 5 males between the ages of 15 and 65, and 1 in every 20 females were currently using alcohol. Nairobi region has the highest prevalence of manufactured legal alcohol, followed by Western region and then Central region. And it goes on and on and on. And that was numbers from 2 years ago. We're waiting for the most current ones, but from all indices and all indicators is that things have become significantly worse in terms of the usage of drugs and alcohol and substance abuse. You were very vocal and you were very outright in a lot of the things that you said when you were the chair of NACADA. Since then, things again have become significantly worse. Where are we today?
We are in a worse situation. Like you have rightfully asserted. And I want to say NACADA is a campaign. It was meant to create awareness. It was supposed to do advocacy. It was never meant to do control of these substances, but advocacy so that people can know what they are getting themselves into. Over time, 2 bad things have happened. That NACADA had just become like, that little dog called Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And a very thin one. Chihuahua, for that matter.
Not fluffy, not cute.
It actually looks like a big rat.
Yeah, actually, sure. That's how they look like. They are defunded. They are starving in finances. They don't bark loud enough now anybody to hear. What you need is a bulldog, like our time. You will recall perhaps around the 2010, 2011 budget. Nakada, to do to the law, specifically campaign. That time was in Parliament, it wasn't in Kada. The late President Mwai Kibaki allowed a release of 1 billion shillings for the campaign. Today is just a shell of what could be happening. Even when we have more scaling figures, which they don't want to release.
Yeah.
Like how many people are dying annually because of alcohol and drug abuse in Kenya. In my estimate, I know government does not like me talking about these things because
why?
They want all of us to be very saved and to assume we are going to heaven. But
all right.
The truth is 50 to 100,000 people die every morgue, and I've visited a lot of them. 20% of the people who are resting there peacefully have died because of alcohol abuse. And if you look at, again, who are these 20%, most of them are young people, the age bracket you just mentioned. So what has gone wrong? The people come to drink because they believe it will help them have a night without their problems. Just like they do when you have a headache, without even investigating why you're having a headache. They send for Panadol, paracetamol,
yes,
or action for that matter, and so forth and so on. But essentially, the headache is an indicator of maybe a more serious problem. Maybe your stomach or something else, or maybe any other organ is having trouble. So people who are students particularly, under these very harsh economic times, young students are having landlords while they're still at the university because they're in hostels.
Yep.
They don't have enough to eat. They have a lot of academic pressure. They turn to alcohol, which is a temporary measure, because at 30 shillings to 60 shillings, they can get 1 cup of that bad stuff and be able to have a night's sleep. You are trying to cure a complex problem with a rhythm problem. And that is a very, very sad thing. Gradually you get addicted. I said it before, I think I said it in the first interview here, that how Mount Kenya region became a victim of alcoholism is that the government then was trying to purge a sect called Mungiki. And it was known then that Mungiki don't drink. So any sober person was suspected to be Mungiki. So the young men opted to be drunk so that they are not arrested.
Okay.
Because that soap with the Kwekwe squad cleared about 3,300 people. I understand ICC is still puzzled by those figures, but they are there. The names are there who was killed and where they were killed. These were people from Mungiki. And long policies by government led to that problem you saw in Mount Kenya area. All along, even when we were in Akada, Western Kenya drank more than Mount Kenya area per capita. But they didn't die as much because Buza, as you know it, Buza, if well brewed, it's a good healthy thing. It's nothing wrong with the Buza.
It's fermented porridge.
Fermented porridge,
Yeah.
And if you take excess, you will talk your rubbish by 2 a.m.
You're good.
You are good, and tomorrow you work.
Yeah.
Pure changa or charm, done by those brewers or distillers who understand the ethics of it. It's better than any dry gin you can get in the market. As long as it's done by those people who understand. And that dry gin, if you go and check closely when Mama Pima is doing it, the first bottle, they say, goes to the spirits. They pour down. You know why? Because it is mainly methanol.
Okay.
Methanol has a lower boiling the temperature. So the first bottle is very heavy on methanol. And if you take it, it will kill. So the idea that there are spirits they are killing somebody is actually scientific. It's methanol.
It is.
All right.
Okay, so this this is the thing that we talk about abuse, though. And there's still, of course, the question whether alcohol is going to be classified as a drug, some of the other drugs that we see, but that the use of it has actually been abused over time. And that today in 2025, heavily, after COVID especially, we started to see those numbers go through the roof. And we started to see that the age of those who were using and abusing alcohol actually started to reduce in terms of age. So younger people partaking of alcohol, but it wasn't just partaking and having a drink. They were not teetotalers. There were people who were drinking, getting drunk, and then as a result of that, other actions were taking place. Whether it was, sexual violence, whether it was robbery, whether it was suicide, whether it was murder. There were many, many things. So are we seeing the abuse of this alcohol as just people who want to drink and have a good time? Or are we seeing that there are other symptoms that are pushing folks to use this alcohol in the manner in which we see?
I'm seeing this excessive use of alcohol as a gateway to hell. Because you perhaps may wish to know that the majority of the people you are mentioning now are ladies. Ladies are having more bad or poisonous alcohol than any other time in our history. And these are young ladies. These ladies are not aware that what they are calling alcohol is actually not alcohol. Somebody gets a jerrycan to 5 liter. There's a tablet they buy, maybe usually 30 shillings, 50 shillings. It's dissolved in that stuff. And then sometimes they color, sometimes they don't. So what they are taking are very hard and harmful drugs, all in the name of alcohol. It's only that drug has been dissolved in water. And my last days in Nakada, and why they threw me out very fast, is that I got all the 3,300 brands of alcohol which were in the market in Kenya, and were starting to analyze each one of them with very scientific equipment for about 883 possible elements within that fluid called alcohol. And the idea was to be able to publish and say that if you are taking this particular brand, I cannot mention the brand, it is good for you, it is bad for you. But the preliminary observation we got then, that some of the opaque beers, which were very popular, ended up having aflatoxins, having very dangerous chemicals, agricultural chemicals, and so forth, even in spirits. So if somebody at Nakada is listening, and I really would like them to listen, because they're on salary, they're on payroll, you are paying tax because they're earning. This is not rocket science. Please go sample what these young people are taking. What they are taking is diluted fentanyl. Fentanyl is a lethal drug, and cofentanyl, calling it alcohol. What ladies are enjoying as a glass of wine is no longer wine. It is just that fentanyl or changa that you get from ethanol, this industrial ethanol, derived from industrial sugar, with caramel for the color and a bit of Coke. And then you are cheating our good ladies that is a glass of wine. This is a serious matter. And I don't know why somebody is sitting there with authority and cannot storm a place and come up with a glass of that stuff and take somebody to jail for life. Why jail Waitito for $500,000?
Oh, no, because...
you just reminded me of a scenario when an owner of a brand actually came to the country. I don't know if you remember, sometime in 2023, he actually ordered his own drink. And he called out that particular supplier for selling a version of his drink that is not original. But that takes me to what you have just spoken about. There is actually harder stuff, if I call it that way, in the generation language that is understood, that people are indulging in. Remember when we had a conversation when the coast leaders brought out the conversation around Mira and Mogoka. I don't know if you remember that. And there was an aspect of finger pointing and blame game, saying, well, there's worse things that you should have already banned here. There is drug barons and there are drug peddlers within your counties that should actually be facing the law and should be kicked out. And I want to hail you and appreciate you for what you did, I think May 2021 thereabout, where you urged the parliament to enact the anti-narcotic bill.
Sure.
And you called on the parliament to fast-track the enactment of that anti-narcotic bill into law. But also you hailed the 12th parliament for efforts to amend the Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropic Substance Control Act. What I want to bring us to is the penalties of for trafficking in narcotic drugs, because they're finding their way into the country anyway.
Yeah.
And they're affecting these same girls and beautiful ladies that you're speaking about. Now, we're talking about where a person is in possession of about 50 micrograms of less to a fine of not less than 10 million shillings or to imprisonment to a term of not less than 10 years or both. Such fine and imprisonment, Act number 4 of 2022. Are we in your observation, is it just written stuff? There are things you pushed for. Are they really being implemented, or do we have laxity and that's making it very easy for things to just flow whichever way?
Absolutely no. Nobody's listening. I would tell my station, Central Police Station, Nakuru, I'm sure they are listening. Just get out of the station, look around, you see a big tanker there, which has been there for quite some years, KBY something. That truck had traveled all the way from Northeastern. This big tanker, the 40-tonner tanker, and it was stuffed with cannabis instead of fuel. And the driver confessed that from the time it was new, that's the business has been conducting. So he moves all the way to the border and then brings in cannabis that truck is still outside. That truck within the second day should have been, if you were to act, if they can read and understand what the law says, that could have been taken by the state and maybe given to NYS or even the police or the military to do useful things for the Kenyans. That law is very good. But if you look at the charge sheet, and I really want to invite the Chief Justice to look at it, police are still feigning ignorance and charging with the old act.
Okay.
To avoid these heavy penalties. And then there's confusion, then there's corruption, and then the matter ends up there. We have enough laws. If there was somebody willing to work, if you go to Tanzania today and you are transporting something illicit, by the following day, that vehicle you're using becomes Malia Taifa. Automatically. There is no this big horrible. The law is very clear. There are buses who have been apprehended with huge quantities of heroin, cocaine. But it all becomes a semi-political argument that he near nani, what. I want to tell viewers and listeners today that this laxity, the same laxity you see with the traffic police officers, is what is killing Kenyans. And Kenya would have developed immensely if only they can follow the law. The last parliamentarians, people keep on bashing them. But 11th Parliament, 10th Parliament, I was there. Let me talk about 11th Parliament. They tried very hard. The 12th Parliament, they worked even harder towards that cause. But who is implementing? There's no need of going back to the Parliament now.
Do you think Nakada is asleep on the job?
I thought you would be more polite and say he's dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
I was being polite.
Yeah.
Okay.
I told you it's a chihuahua. It's small.
You said Nakada was a campaign and the role was cut out.
Yeah.
Were other functions added to it, or did we need to strengthen the organizations, units or entities within our country who can actually actualize all the things that Nakada was coming up with? Because Nakada did not have the muscle to do it.
Correct, because you see now, even the latest I heard is that they have been told they are regulatory authority. That means they are supposed to regulate.
Yeah.
Let's start from there. If they're supposed to be regulatory authority, can they define what is consumable alcohol to the common mwananchi and call it by brand and have weekly review so that somebody like you, after working so hard, because reporting here at work at 6 a.m.
4
a.m. And then spending the whole day as a human being, you merely quite relax.
Yes.
And I know the gentlemen, and I've known a lot of gentlemen and ladies. They like to have their lunch and then have one beer, not 20 bottles of beer, and enjoy. So that when you are taking and sipping that drink of your choice, you are sure it's what you bought.
I hear you on that, and I want us to take a break, but I want to come back to then, what is this thing that we are seeing in the nation today that is actually folks who are taking the 20 bottles? It's folks who are one person who's drinking an entire bottle of brandy or whiskey. And they're saying, well, I'm going to use this bottle to run away from whatever issue. And I'm saying that the campaign, it should not just be about, fighting this illicit alcohol or fighting the trade routes that are bringing them in, but looking at the issues that is going to cause this person to drink an entire bottle or 20 bottles for that matter. And I think that largely we've not paid attention to that. But we'll come back and we'll talk about that as we come back from this break. John Mututho is our guest this hour, former chairman of NACADA, as well as the MD for Jomek Rehabilitation Center. We're having that conversation with him this morning. Veto FX is a platform upon which you can, as a business, make payments from one to the other, making sure that your supplies are in check. You don't have to worry about high fees. You don't have to worry about hidden fees. You don't even have to worry that you're sending money for your business from one country to the next, because the platform allows you to do this across 190 countries in 49 plus different currencies, and you can make sure that everything that you need for your business to continue seamlessly does just that. You want to find out more information about that? Join us at 9 o'clock. We'll have that conversation, but also go to the website www.vetofx.com.
People come to me and they say they get discomfort when they have ice cream. Can you imagine that? Avoiding having cold ice cream. Sensodyne gives you long-lasting protections against sensitivity. And people come in and they're like, oh, it works. I can have ice cream and I'm not in any discomfort. I recommend Sensodyne because it works. It's brilliant.
We value your feedback and welcome your comments, queries, and complaints regarding our content. You can get in touch with us via SMS on 22151. Call 0719-012450 or 0719-012090 or email feedback@standardmedia.co.ke. Our PO Box number is 30080-00100, Nairobi, or deliver it to our offices at Standard Group Center, Mombasa Road, Nairobi.
Zach only wants your friendship. Is that it, Joanna?
I'm confused, Asher. It is possible that he feels something stronger for me, but I don't feel the same.
You told everyone that he died?
You cannot tell anyone that Asher is alive.
Why did you lie, Zach? I think Asher is dead.
He's dead, Mistress Ilana.
You wish to get permission to court Joanna?
But I believe Joanna has not yet recovered from the death of Asher.
Yes, and besides, it's too soon for her to give her attention to another man.
What a shame that I have to go. You don't know how my heart rejoices when I'm in your lovely presence.
I simply wish to know how you are, my friend.
I'm fine.
You cannot get married to that woman.
And who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do?
Kenya thrives on agriculture and it's very fruitful. From the highlands that we grow our coffee and tea all the way to the resilient northeastern part with our livestock, and not forgetting the breadbasket in the Rift Valley.
If you're not able to meet an agronomist, you can even view channels whereby you can start from the bottom.
Maisha ya siku hizi ni kujituma. Hakuna haja kwenda kutafuta kazi na kazi yenyewe iko hapa kwa mchanga.
At Farm Kenya, we celebrate those who make it happen. Farmers who innovate, adapt, and guess what? They're able to feed the nation. Together, we are growing nutrition.
Together, we are growing agriculture.
And together, We are growing Kenya.
And you're fine. But what we are seeing is health life altering. And it's happening to younger people, and it's happening in waves that is crazy. We have ridiculous things going on. We have young girls, I mean, and we can say this because we're talking about a serious issue today, who are soaking tampons in alcohol and inserting them.
Mm-hmm.
We have people who are taking bottles of alcohol and using them like suppositories.
Mm-hmm.
We have people who go into the bar at 7 p.m. and wake up in the bar and stay there at 11 o'clock in the morning. This is not an issue of you want to taste a brandy and see what it looks like. There's a problem.
It's a big problem. I'm glad you have mentioned it. And quite honestly, this is the first time I'm having an interview where somebody comes light on. When we did Mutudha Law, little known to many Kenyans is that Mutudha Laws were a result of a research conducted from 1902 to 2008, 2009 to try and see what is ailing Kenya and alcoholism. Because as early as 1902, they reported alcoholism in Murang'a. And there were several steps taken then through time and the colonial era and all along up to the time when Mutudha Law comes to force. In other words, Mutudha Law came 103 years after the first attempt to make a law.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 1907, when they did the first regical, the first sitting in the afternoon of 1907 at the railway, by the way, the railway, you see where you have the railway club.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the most prestigious building then in this Nairobi city. That's where they sat. And that is where the governor chaired a meeting that had the first two bills. The first bill was to stop slave trade. The second bill was to stop intoxicating drinks. You will recall also in 1955 that the then senator for Left Valley, the selected or elected for Left Valley, was sacked because he never showed up. Dr. Tameno, he didn't show up. And after 8 sittings in the Senate, he never showed up, or in Parliament. He never showed up. And then late President Moi was now elected to come and fill his place because of alcohol. So these issues have been there. When Mutudha Laws were done, we were supposed to generate 4 sets of regulations. The first regulation was to delimit access to alcohol. That's where you find Mutudha hours and things like that. The number of bars near a school, the number of bars in a town. You'll be shocked that Nairobi has 4 times the number of pubs compared to Moscow. Although Nairobi in itself, the city of Nairobi, is about 20% of Moscow. So there must be something awfully wrong in the way we are looking at the whole question of alcohol. And alcohol is dangerous from day one. The second set of regulation was supposed to be on quality. This was supposed to define alcohol. That's the point you are bringing home. What is alcohol? What will make boozer? What makes vodka? What makes wine? Everybody was waiting for that, and we did that regulation. But the late Professor Saitoti, who was then the minister, and all the others that followed, thought it prudent not to sign the regulations. You know, there's nothing you can do.
Was reason ever given as to why they didn't sign them?
They never gave any reason, and we kept on sending the copies. That is the most important set of regulation, and is the one the brewers people, when they hear Mutudha talk about that, their stomachs turn, because they know that is what matters. There is nothing wrong with you taking your Glenfiddich 26 years or whatever it is, but who determines that actually that carbon is the same carbon which has been around the planet for the 26 years? There must be somebody, a regulatory authority.
All right.
The other one was supposed to be on treatment and rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
These days you get some very retro places. I'm not saying that because my John Mutu Empowerment Center in Nakuru is sitting on 15 acres. It's a robust, it's a very robust rehab. Somebody who has been a victim, and now decide to go and get a bed sitter and calls it a rehab. The fact that you are unfortunate enough and you suffered from malaria does not make you a malaria specialist. Rehab is serious business. And there are regulations which were set, the quality, and everything, the hardware and software of treatment and rehabilitation. That one, again, was never signed. It was never published. The final one was something to do with the enforcement. How will you enforce these things? Theoretically, I was supposed to be having people there, about 250 police officers, according to President Kibaki, and the strength that was defined by themselves on people who are going to control all this mess with alcoholism. But let me shock Kenyans this morning.
All right.
All this time when I fought from Moyale all the way to Msambweni, I had only 2 soldiers, and I really salute them. Corporal Getonga and Corporal Njoroge. I really salute them. 2 people. It was like one man guitar dancing all over Kenya. So why they never reached the force, God knows. Number 2, under Section 5.5 of Mutuzo laws, all money for licenses is supposed to go towards treatment and rehabilitation and enforcement.
All right.
That has never happened. So what you are seeing today, and the result of what you are seeing today, is a question of these people penetrating deep into government system, very, very deep, and making their own regulations, how they are going to kill more Kenyans, how they are going to hurt more families. But in terms of regulations, in terms of law, we are okay. We are okay, if only. And I'll tell you, and I'm here this morning, not to campaign, but to state the fact the way they are. If today, I saw in KTN, breaking news, Mutuzo is Nakada boss. I'll need 3 months. Things will be as straight as SGR.
Okay. But I have to say that, there are certain things that create the correct breeding ground for other things to happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
That there is a prerequisite landing upon which then the use of alcohol becomes so easy and it becomes a coping mechanism. It becomes a crutch for a lot of people, and that's where we are. And it may seem as though I'm like a dog with a bone on this, but I am. That we cannot separate the use of alcohol from the mental health emergency state that Kenya is in today. We cannot separate the use of alcohol from the lack of opportunity and lack of jobs, unemployment issues in the country that we see today. We cannot separate the use of alcohol and drugs from the social issues that we see amongst the family, amongst, poor founded units, the nuclear families and the shambles. There's so many things that are happening that are making the breeding ground for the abuse of alcohol and drugs then very, very easy. Who should work together on these issues? Because you can say, kill the use of alcohol, kill the use of illicit alcohol, but somebody's going to find something else to use to deal with the issues tomorrow.
And I just want to actually add on what Ndu has said, because somebody once said addiction is just a way of trying to get at something else, something much, much bigger. In fact, they continue to say addiction denied is recovery delayed. Is the country at large just acting somewhat in a way that they're not seeing what Ndu is saying? There's something actually bigger, and we are denying some sort of real visible addiction that is going on within the young people and among the young people. And like she said, what and who could hold the solution?
Can I try perhaps and respond and add to what you're saying by asking
Yes.
my question?
Yes.
Is alcohol a problem? Alcoholism a problem, or is it a symptom of a much bigger problem?
Symptom to me.
To me, I start there. Alcoholism is a symptom because people are trying to fight economic wars. and which are generated and compounded again by excessive use of any substances. What people are taking today, and I must emphasize here, and I caution everybody who is trying to get cheap alcohol, is not really alcohol today. There is a tablet dissolved in some water, and that effect of getting high is because of a drug. And I suspect, and I've seen the symptoms of fentanyl and cofentanyl. I would say this, that if you look at the government, the last time they did a big rehab was when Mwangil was a Minister for Health. That was 60 beds at Madare. They tried another one at Miritini. All the agencies, understand they used over 1 billion shillings to do one there. But I visited that place, or I sent my manager to go and see what they are doing, and they had less than 40 patients out there at Mombasa. Whereas people who require who require attention, people who have been declared clinically addicts in Kenya, there are over 10 million today. So you have a very sick society. I will tell you something, in interest of time, that you really need to take caution and invite everybody to read, including yourselves. Look at the effect of alcohol in the brain. It releases, when alcohol is handled by the liver, they release ketones. When ketones land in the brain, they poke holes randomly. I'm saying randomly. So today you have people who are CEOs, people who are fathers, but they cannot father, because that part of the brain that controls that function is destroyed. It's like a virus in a big computer. That's what's happening. So the ills of the society you're seeing today are as a result of that abuse. You'll find somebody is so big, even to a level of cabinet secretary. But look at the track record of the decision, the delay, the time lag in decisions. Just tells you there's a lot of holes poked in the brain, such that information does not flow straight. When I look at you in the eyes directly, I see information is flowing. You don't stammer. Don't say, it's like, it shows the brain, all the faculties are on. But you'll find, just look at them. Somebody trying to answer a simple thing, and it's to all be, it's just like, what I meant was, this is because there's no flow. The brain deals with, works like a microelectronic circuit.
Yes.
And all the 100 billion neurons talk to each other, which are like computer folders. So the more holes you poke. And by the way, every bottle, 500 mils of opaque beer, 500 mils, you destroy 1,500 neurons. And those could be the ones to do with your profession, could be something to do with your ability to produce babies, and so forth. Number two, every time you take a glass of hard drink, the same effect. So the number of bottles you have been taking will do that. But I don't want to lose that question you asked, which was the first question. In Mutuzo, under the regulations, you are supposed to have trained barmen. A barman with a certificate, so that at no time will he, so just like a pharmacist, way beyond what is humanly possible to be consumed. And you are supposed to display your badge because you are responsible for what you sell. You are not supposed to sell poison, you are supposed to sell alcohol. That can only happen if you have a registered, just like you have a registered pharmacist. That one they don't want to see, and it is not a band of regulations. Anybody doubting that, and I would ask Kideki or Murkomen to invite me after this, and I'll give them a copy if they can't find them. But every year when we were there, we deposited those regulations, and the PS thought it honorable not to forward, or the minister found it not honorable enough to go on the Gazette. You are seeing the point. If truly they had agreed to sign those regulations, you will not have somebody sitting for 12 hours in the bar. How? Because there is a barman. The barman is just like a pharmacist. If you go today in any pharmacy, you cannot go there and prescribe for yourself as much poison as you wish to have.
Yeah, but you can still walk into a shop and you can buy bottles of alcohol and you can take it and sit in your sitting room with your friends.
As long as you can afford it, I think that's how it works.
Yes, that's what has happened. But you see, if you look at those regulations, the way they were drawn, it would be very difficult because you cannot introduce alcohol into your car. If you look, you cannot drink from the car. You cannot drink in your house if there are 18s. Yet you commit an offense. It's an offense. But the most important, you cannot sit in a pub like they do and display 12 bottles of alcohol that you have drunk. You cannot also advertise during peak hours.
So what bothers me is that there are very many competing narratives here. That there's the business aspect where folks are very interested, of course, in making sure that they meet the bottom line. But then there's also a competing aspect here where we're dealing with societal trauma that then leads to this abuse. But then we're also dealing with, what needs to happen in terms of governance to make sure that we're able to color and stay within the lines. Can we get to a place whereby this competition doesn't actually need to happen and the people are essentially protected?
You can't, because the alcohol industry and the drug abuse menace is structured now. They have formal structures undercover. The people who sell cannabis at Egerton are not necessarily the ones who sell at Pwani University. They are people, they have petitioned themselves. They have their bosses. I can tell you for free, like the people who import ethanol. 80% is imported by one importer.
80%.
80%. How does it come to 80%? Trucks and trucks of ethanol imported from Malawi and South Africa and other places. He must be having an awful strong connection with the government and regulatory authorities. So if you look at like the cannabis, or let me call it like they call it in South Africa, ganja. Most of it comes from South Africa. No, not from Ethiopia. How does a truck leave with 20 tons of ganja all the way from Ethiopia highlands down to Malindi, where they distribute an excess of 10 tons per day, and nobody is able to apprehend that and take action? It's an industry. So that industry is super. That's how they pushed me out of parliament. That's why they made sure that I cannot become a senator. That's how they made it impossible for the government to renew my contract with NACADA.
So are the cartels working then? Is it a cartel issue to insist that the business continues?
The cartels are ahead of the government by far. They control, they have their bosses, they have their regional commanders. They are well established.
I want to ask this question.
Yeah.
Right now, in the West, there's a great deal of talk about legalizing cannabis. Park that one. All these alcoholic beverages that have names, and some are adolescents, some are fully adults, they started off as moonshine, many of them. They started off as alcohol that was actually considered illicit. But over time, regulations, as you suggest, made it possible for them to be infinitely less harmful if consumed responsibly. We've had traditional alcohol for the longest time. Why is it that in all this time we have never seen a concerted effort to ensure that what we know is traditional is actually safe? Take it just to the next stage.
If you look, also just to add, because I think because of time you might want to respond to this as well. You've said and reiterated that what we are drinking, all right, for those who are drinking, is not really what we think we are drinking. So I would like to just implore you to probably give a hint of how would you know the difference, besides everything people say scan, check behind, if it's sealed. How then, for those who still want to indulge, how do they know the difference of what they're taking?
If you want to remain alive and enjoy this beautiful world, just make use of IT and learn how to scan and check the factory, which will go up to the batch. They will try to fake, but you can be able to send an email and they will confirm that what you're having is right. I'm telling you, what you are drinking here, even high-end crabs here, is things manufactured in Kariobangi Light Industries, and they pack better than original. You remember, if you go through your notes, you realize that there's a time I shouted down a big ship which was off our coast with Chinese and manufacturing all types of drinks, including Tusker and others, out there. And the Chinese ambassador was close on me on that one. I said I should show him, and I told him just to not waste my time, because everybody knows where that stuff is coming from. So I was telling Kenyans this morning through this wonderful station that to stay alive now is a project. You either stay out of alcohol in total or afford to be more scientific. Take time before you take that sip to know who is the manufacturer.
Why have we not legalized or made safe traditional alcohol?
Yes.
Because the people who are in the other forms of alcohol are stronger than the government. They are a cartel. Don't throw big names. There's nothing wrong, I've said, in somebody who is producing changa out there, a mapima, producing pure changa, should not be allowed to produce, pack in 5-liter pack, and then sell to somebody else who can now pack into 100 mils and dilute to a level that is acceptable. But there's no impurity. There's nothing wrong with that structurally. There's nothing wrong. And that if you could get gin from the mama pimas, pure gin, and then it's diluted or fortified with some juice so that it becomes a liqueur, it's something nice. But they won't allow it. I'm just telling you, the structure by those people is impossible. At one time I said, I know of OCPDs who got 1.8 million per month. I know some gang leaders who get 1.8 million per month in the same area to protect gang leaders in the same area. So the structure in the illicit sector for illicit drinks is stronger than the government. And I would really invite my friend Kidiki for a talk, particularly before cameras. And we agree to say what we know and we don't know.
And what we don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, look, there's so much that needs to be talked about. But, the thing about time is that it, doesn't allow you to do that all the time. But it would be great for you to come back and for us to continue this. But we want to give you something that is not an illicit substance this morning. And it's an hour moment. After you've had this conversation, you can, take a moment to just kind of relax and debunk. Delamere yogurt. It gives you an opportunity to have your moment, and CT is giving you one that has strawberry in it, and it's real fruit in this strawberry yogurt, and you don't have to worry that there's any illicit substances in it, and you can enjoy that. Cheers, exactly. You can enjoy that on your break and have an moment with Delamere.
And I'll tell you something.
Yes.
My late father was a clerk at Daramea's. I owned Daramea petrol station, that time Kobil.
Yeah.
I was a member of Parliament for Naivasha. There's something Daramea in me.
Yeah.
And this is the best of for this morning.
There you go. And you were introducing it again. John Mutuzo is the former Nakada chair as well as the MD of Jomek Rehabilitation Centre. Has been our guest this hour. These conversations must continue. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Dental Tips, brought to you by Sensodyne.